So hello and welcome to the talk on development of launch facility at Mars using CO2. So this proposal is a research work developed during one of the research Habitat Marte mission at Brazil. And I am Pallavi Prasad presenting here about the proposal on development of launch facility and one of the analog astronauts at Habitat Marte. So here in this proposal, you will see the possible design concept of developing a launch facility, the geology of Mars to look at a little bit for our advantage and to decide upon the landing and launching sites, the technologies required to build the habitat, and some spin-offs from the Perseverance mission, launch and spaceport infrastructure, facilities and functionalities of the spaceport, the resources required to develop the launch infrastructure, and finally we'll see some of the operations protocols of the launch site. So moving on, first we will discuss about the possible design concept. So I have categorized broadly it into the three areas which we need to focus on to understand and to decide upon what could be the design, what could be the deciding factor for our launch facility development. So first is the geology, as I mentioned earlier. So in the looking at the geology, it will help us in deciding what could be the landing and launching site, and of course what kind of mineral we could extract and how it would be helpful for the technology development. For the technology part, we need to actually see that how we can generate water and oxygen. And since we are talking about Mars, and it will be really difficult to take a lot of mass from here, from Earth, and also we need to build in situ propellants at Mars. We cannot carry all the propellants from Earth as well. So we need to develop some technology to generate rocket propellants, and of course rockets. And before even we reach there, humans, we need to have some kind of dwellings available there and some setup available there. For that, we need to have robots or UAVs or all the mechanical instruments so that it can support our habitat there. So we really need to look at the robots part. And for all of these technology development, we really need to see the power requirement, that how the power station will fulfill our power requirement of all these technology. The third most interesting part is how actually the infrastructure will be built and what it will composed of. So first of all, we need to think about its design and architecture. And of course, for this part, again, we need to see how we can utilize CO2, which is the most abundant material there, for development of an infrastructure. And we all know radiation is a bigger problem there at Mars. So we definitely need a shielding from radiation and cosmic radiations, basically. And then what kind of facilities it will have, and finally the operation. So combining all these areas, we will see that how it can be developed, and we can come up with a launching site. So first of all, geology. So from the past few missions, we have actually seen that most of the landing sites are near the equator, and or probably within plus minus 30-degree latitude to equator. So the current operational rovers, InSight and Curiosity, which are already there and near this area, which is close to 30-degree latitude, and ExoMars mission, which is scheduled for 2023, which will land here, which is again near to 30-degree latitude. Yeah, so thinking about for Mars habitat development, we need to actually take this in consideration that our landing site would be close to equator for the simple reason that we need to operate solar power, solar cells, and we need to have enough solar energy, which can only be available near the near the equator. Then also it should be at low Earth elevation so that it can provide atmospheric braking. And then the surface should be flat or nearly rock free so that it does not have any complication during landing or launching, as well as if we in future if we want to do any kind of scientific experiments or to do a mineral exploration or to drill down to the Martian surface, so it should not cause a problem. It should be smooth enough. And of course, in the end, the launch site should be in close proximity to the other facilities, not very close, but yeah, so it should be in reachable limits so that for any kind of launch activities, it can be performed. Next, we need to think about that what kind of minerals we can extract from Mars surface. So other than hydrogen, oxygen, or methane, we really need to talk about magnesium. So here, after a lot of research, I actually got this very interesting concept of using supercritical carbon dioxide as a solvent to extract magnesium from the surface of Mars. So under the Martian rocks and soil, there lies magnesium. So if we can actually extract magnesium, magnesium can act as a very good fuel for, it can act as a rocket propellant, and because of simple reason that it ignites very easily. Other than that, carbon dioxide can also be used to extract hydrogen. So the same way, if some rocks actually contain hydrogen, so if it is submerged into the supercritical carbon dioxide, the carbon in the CO2, it actually gets fixed within the rock, and so that, and then oxygen is free. And once it is free, it finds a partner, probably hydrogen. And if that happens, then we can have water. So these are some options or proposal to generate hydrogen. And if we have hydrogen, it can definitely act as our propellant. And another big source of hydrogen is near the polar ice caps. Polar ice caps, majority is CO2 ice, but it also has water ice. Definitely, the signs have of water ice is there also. So from there also we can extract that. Other part is having methane and oxygen. Methane, for a simple reason, for our propellant. So methane and oxygen, you can find it surges on the surface during this spring and summer, because during summer when the temperature increases, CO2 vaporizes, evaporates, and then we have methane and oxygen. So we need to extract all these from the atmosphere of Mars. So moving next, we need to talk about the technology which are required generally. So for the technology part, like we have talked about supercritical carbon dioxide. So at 73 atmospheric pressure and reaching at 31.1 degrees Celsius temperature, the normal carbon dioxide, it becomes supercritical carbon dioxide, and it becomes a very good solvent, and hence we can utilize it. So utilize it. So definitely, we need to develop technology for that. So on Earth, there are plants which are on which some experiments are going on. And second, we need to talk about oxygen development. So oxygen generation, definitely we are going to rely upon the MOXIE experiment, about which yesterday Dr. Michael has talked about in detail about the MOXIE experiment. So once we are able to we are successful in generating oxygen from MOXIE experiment, definitely we are going to use it as a for oxygen to breathe, oxygen for propellant, for everything, for survival of human beings will be possible. Next technology, we need to really talk about the propellant. So we have been talking about using liquid methane, extracting methane from the atmosphere and surface, and then using it as a propellant. So liquid oxygen, liquid methane, because of simple reason that it has a very high specific impulse, we can definitely use it for our, it is a highly probable option for using it as a rocket propellant, and we need to generate it in situ. So another option, like I said, magnesium also can be a rocket fuel, and we need to explore that option as well. So liquid oxygen along with liquid methane and hydrogen can be a good propellant. And of course, to use that, we need to have a liquid propellant. So this looks to be a liquid propellant rocket. So this looks to be a viable option for the rocket technology. Another one is for development of the habitat, we need to have robots. So swarm robots can be useful there. And another one, which is a POC, Mars helicopter, which is again in the Perseverance mission on the way to Mars. So upon its successful test, if it is successful, we can definitely use it for Mars habitat development, and also for even if we can use it for remote sensing purposes and other scientific experiments. So another technology to fulfill all the technological power requirement, solar energy will not be sufficient only. So we need to have a hybrid setup in which we can harness the solar power, wind, and out of all these, nuclear power stands out. So it is going to be the most useful and sustainable and reliable source of energy because of the simple reason that it can produce, it has longer year of sustainability, and it provides power more than 7 years also. So after we are done with the technology and development, we have we need to think really about the development of infrastructure, that how what could be the deciding factor. And since we have been talking about a lot of CO2, and CO2 is abundant in the atmosphere, why not to use it for our development of the dwellings? So there was a wonderful concept given by Mars ISOM Clouds Architecture Office along with NASA's Langley's Research Center. So in 2018, I think they have come up with this Mars ice home concept, in which they are using water ice as structural support. And one of the major reasons of using water ice is that it provides very good shielding to the radiation. And addition to that, we will, in these dwellings, uses carbon dioxide, which are basically in these filled in these areas, and these areas are water ice. So carbon dioxide acts as an insulation and also helps in maintaining the pressure inside the dwellings. So other beautiful part of these dwellings are that it has greenhouse, it can hold greenhouse setups, and also maintenance and repair activity can be done, for which the astronauts would not have to step out of the dwellings, and it can be done, these activities can be done inside the dwellings. So this is good probable option for the launch site development. So thinking once now, as we are done with the dwellings and the ice homes, we really need to think about what kind of functionalities these launch areas and spaceport hold. So it will have it should support, basically, it should be capable of doing all these activities like arrival and unloading of all the transport and launch vehicle, assembly and test of the launch vehicle, and it should also support the fueling and payload management during or before the landing and launching, and assembly of all the payload. So we should have all the separate section in the launch facility area. And it should also support the transport of the assembled launch vehicle, including the payloads to the launch pad. And over and above, we also need to have a good accessibility to these launch sites or spaceports, and especially at the launch pad. And combining all of these, I have actually come up with an idea of that how and what it can include. So this picture is just for a representation purpose, that if this is a launch site, launch facility, it will have, it should actually have a launch integration building, a final assembly building where before the launch, the rocket assembly and payload assembly will happen. And finally, it should also have a launch pad from where takeoff and landing will happen. It should also have an area which looks after all the repair and maintenance. And then another area look after the data communication center. If we are going to, it can also, this launch facility can also hold the office, gym, greenhouse, and pantry in the central location of it. And above all, it should be well integrated with the main center or with the power station and the engineering facility, so that it can, all the fuel generation activity can be done or can be utilized from there. And we can also have astronaut quarters here, but or we can also we can have, but it is recommended that it should be near the main habitat or the rest of the habitat. And the main habitat, main facility should hold the launch control center. It should be a share, because of the simple reason that it should be a shared activity. So moving next, we need to think about that how many people, how many resources would be required. So as I can think of, for the initial phase, for all these activities which are listed, there may be a crew of 4 astronauts with a shared responsibility with other facilities can work. And it's not only a sole responsibility of the astronauts. It should also be, it is also supported with by the swarm robots. So for example, the launch center, the launch control center can be managed by one astronaut, and also the same astronaut can look after the other main facility area. So the next, for the launch and for the operations and maintenance of the activity, for the launch infrastructure, I have broadly categorized into 4 areas: housekeeping, communication, assembly, integration and testing, and monitoring. So looking at what kind of duties they will have. So housekeeping, definitely for all the launch and associated facility, we should have a regular housekeeping activities going on. Swarm robots and helicopters, housekeepings are very much required. Rockets and scientific instruments require housekeeping on daily basis. And then the communication. Coming to the communication, we need to actually maintain the telemetry reception, synchronization of the time signal, video transmission to Earth and vice versa. It should be it should have in situ data analysis and control. The other duty should be communication, antenna maintenance and control, and setting up communication protocol within the facility or with Earth and vice versa. Now, for the assembly, integration, and testing, this area, basically the kind of duties this area should have, like spacecraft robot readiness testing before launch, and initial remote sensing activities using helicopters and robots, and other scientific experiments also it should be capable of initiating. Now, coming to the monitoring part of it, so what kind of activities we should have? So first of all, daily health check and reporting. Decision making for the launch planning, test and analysis of the daily reports, flight safety, traffic monitoring and control of swarm robots and helicopters, weather monitoring and alarming. So this is all about the operations and maintenance duties of the launch area. So in the end, actually, launch facility cannot work on its own in silo. It needs support. So it should be well integrated with other habitat facilities. For example, it is highly dependent on the power station facility for its power requirements. Second, it is highly dependent on the engineering facility for the fuel generation and testing requirements or for scientific activities. Third, the monitoring of the launch control, monitoring will happen of the launch control center that is housed in main center. So it is also very well linked with the main center with the and finally the for any kind of scientific experiments it should have it is responsibility of all. So basically everybody should contribute in the scientific experiments. So this is how I can think of developing a Mars launch facility. And I'd like to extend my thanks to Dr. Giulio and Habitat Mate, because of whom I have been able to come up with this research proposal for development of launch facility. These are some references where we can find all the details, in detail what I have talked about. Thank you.
I think you have a few minutes for question and answer if you are up for it.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to find out if Nora or Carol? Sorry, I'm just trying to see if they're still on here. They should be.
Don't believe so.
Oh, okay. Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready to do the question and answer?
Yes, we're ready for that here.
Okay, perfect. Go right ahead.
All right. Paul, have you got some questions in the chat here for you?
Okay, I'm trying to access the chat basically.
I can read them off too if you like.
Yep, please.
Sure. The first one we have here is from Stephen Houghton. Says, I'm glad you see the necessity of nuclear. Have you considered the integral molten salt reactor or CANDU reactor?
I have actually considered MMRTGs and not actually the nuclear reactor development. And I'll have to look further into this concept. So MMRTGs I have seen, these are very useful for the previous, for the other Martian missions as well. For example, for Perseverance and also in InSight, we are having MMRTGs. So that's all I have looked at, not for the other power requirements, sorry.
Okay, our next question is from Robert Stockman. He asks, does magnesium dissolve in supercritical carbon dioxide? What other elements can be extracted with this technique?
Okay, so as far as I have researched and I have come across that magnesium can be dissolved in carbon dioxide, and for other kind of other elements, it is still in testing, under testing basically. So we need to get the list of it, that what all elements it can be dissolved in carbon dioxide, in supercritical carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Aaron. He asks, with the hazmat and rockets, how do you plan to handle fire and rescue considerations?
Sorry, come again?
With the hazmat and rockets, how do you plan to handle fire and rescue considerations?
Okay, for the safety protocols. So in my design consideration, what I have basically thought of the launch area, it should actually be away from the main habitat, first of all. And to go in deep into the fire and other safety hazards, I have actually not looked much into it, and probably I can get back to you later after this session and through chats, if it is okay.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Give it a minute or two in case anybody's still typing.
Sure.
All right, well, it doesn't appear we have any more questions coming through. So if that's the case, I think we're good to go ahead and wrap it up here. Pallavi, thank you so much for presenting. Awesome presentation. Really looking forward to see your future work.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending.